Hello and welcome. I am Estelle Bingham. I am the author of Manifest Your True Essence, and I am very excited to be here for You Can Heal Your Life, the You Can Heal Your Life podcast, Hay House podcast, with Karen Kay, who has delivered a wonderful oracle deck, Manifesting with the Fairies. Now, this is your third oracle deck with Hay House, isn't it, Karen?
It
Tell me
is.
all. Tell us about this magic, the
Yeah,
magic of
so
the oracle deck.
it's my third deck. So the first one, my first fairy baby was Oracle of the Fairies. The second one was no, not Manifesting with the Mermaids, Messages from the Mermaids. And my latest one, Manifesting with the Fairies. And just let me say, I'm so excited to be chatting with you on this platform with Hay House for the Heal Your Life podcast. And the Manifesting with the Fairies deck is all about, it kind of does what it says on the tin, if you like. It's about manifesting things within your life, which many of us know about here at Hay House, law
Yeah.
of attraction kind of energy, manifestation. But this is with an extra sprinkle of fairy dust, if you like. So we're bringing in things, they can be material things, of course, but also things like peace, happiness, joy, health, vitality as well. So they're inner things and outer things.
Well, it's wonderful because what we know about fairies, I mean, some people who are watching this will have worked with the fairies before and understand what that whole kind of kingdom is about, the kingdom of the elementals. And other people may be really new to who the fairies are and how we can work with them. So, Karen, tell us a little bit about the elemental kingdom. I actually also work with them in my work. So, and it's so wonderful to work with them. So, tell us what and how that we can kind of bring that into being.
Yes, certainly. So my journey with the elementals, with the fairies, and by the way, there are many ways of spelling fairy. We see it all over the place, but it is descriptive of a type of elemental being. And they can manifest in very different ways. They can appear as points of light, or sometimes leafed or tree figures, or anything at all, because they are magical beings. And sometimes we just feel them and they'll present to us in a way that we can best receive them. My journey with the fairies first started when I was a little girl in my grandmother's garden, and my parents had separated, and I went to live with my grandmother for a short time. And I was only, I think, 5, 6, 7, maybe, very young. And she loved flowers, and she would be pruning her roses in her garden, and I'd be there collecting all the rose petals, and then I'd scoop them up and put them in a little pot, mush them all up with water, and I was making what I believed was perfume for the flower fairies. It was actually rose water, but it was still very, very nice. And I would leave it out in what could be described as a liminal space, which was the gap between two garages, my nan's garage and the neighbour's garage. And there was this tiny little space, and I don't think I could probably get through it now, to be honest. But when I was a young girl, I would go there and I would leave this perfume for the fairies. And then I'd go back and check the next day, and it would always be gone. And the more kind of scientifically minded people might say, well, of course it evaporated, which it probably did. However, anybody that works with fairies, and if you don't, this is something really interesting. So fairies can absorb the essence of things. Very often, for example, if you're eating a picnic outside, sometimes the food just doesn't taste as tasty. And that's because if there are fairies nearby, they'll be kind of absorbing all the energy of the food. So it tastes a little bit more bland to us. So they can absorb energy. Now, I could just feel that they were there. It was a very innocent thing. My rational mind hadn't kicked in yet. My ego hadn't fully kicked in at that point. So it was just a feeling and a knowing. It wasn't a believing, it was a knowing, because I was experiencing this energy. And I would see them as kind of tiny dots of light piercing through from their realm into ours. And this stayed with me and has continued to stay with me right up until the present day. At one point, when I was a teenager and we get to that kind of rebellious stage, I was thinking, maybe there's something wrong with my eyes because I'm seeing all these lights all the time. So I went to the opticians and I didn't say, "Hey, I'm seeing fairies." I just said, "Could you check my eyes out? Just, let me know if they're okay." And I had 20/20 vision. So that was a sign to me that I knew that what I was seeing was fairies. I did not tell the optician that because they may have locked me up at that point. But yeah, so it's an experiential thing. So everything I share is from my own experiences, and sometimes it goes against the grain of what we may read in other books or other kind of schools of thought. So
Yeah.
I'm all for the positive PR of fairies. Yes, they can be mischievous. Yes, you can get kind of naughty ones and nice ones, but it's like people, isn't it? When you meet somebody in the
Mm.
street, they might be really nice or you might not resonate fully with them. And it's the same within the fairy realm. And it's about slowly building up this connection with them. And that's how I've come to this position that I'm in now.
So just going back there, Karen, yeah, thank you for that. Really, just to for us to kind of understand your journey and with them is amazing. But going back to this idea of childhood and the innocence of childhood, and really, like you say, where this thinking about, because often I'll speak to people and they will say, when I was a child,
Yeah.
I remember feeling things, or, and before we shut down, really we shut down our hearts. We often shut down our hearts, or our stories start to shift kind of our perspective. We go to school, we're kind of we're taught that, this mystic imagination, it doesn't exist, or it's kind of, we're shamed into becoming more conformist,
Yeah.
and actually when we return, really, returning to this place of possibility too, this is where the angels, the fairies, the David kingdom, that's where they exist in this space.
Yeah.
But also the liminal space. Should we have a little chat about that? Because some people may have heard of the liminal space, and why the liminal space is so important. And liminal obviously means between. It's betwixt and between. So it's this idea of, when we see the when we see the fairies, we see them, we can see them at, dusk, we can see them at dawn. There are certain times, aren't there, where
Mm.
solstices, different times where we also can be in communication with them. Maybe let's maybe, talk a little bit about that, Karen, this idea of the liminal space. And so for people who don't know about that, what that means for you.
Yeah, okay. So the obvious one that most people will be familiar with is the time of Halloween or Samhain, however you want to say it. And this is a time when it's said that the veils are thin, and that is the clue, because when the veils are thin, it means that different dimensions can penetrate this dimension and vice versa. So just to be clear, the fairies are resident on this planet but within a different dimension, but they're here. And sometimes when the veil is thin, they can penetrate through and we can penetrate through into theirs. And it's kind of always on their terms, but it's easier. When I say easier, it's more likely that you're going to have an experience or a vision of a fairy during these liminal times of year. For example, like you said, the solstices, the summer solstice especially, and then also at the equinoxes, a spring
Yeah.
equinox especially, is when they're really active, because nature, remembering that fairies are guardians of nature, so we're talking about nature here, and some people say they're nature angels. They're not angels. Fairies are very, very different from angels. They both have very different roles within this universe. Fairies are guardians of the land, of the planet, of the streams, of everything, and there are different elementals. So we can connect with them at the various times of year, and especially at the springtime as well, because they're busy, they're kind of nurturing these seeds, the plants, the trees, everything as it comes into a growth period. So it's very exciting, and really it is about, like you were saying, about reconnecting to that childlike part of ourselves where there's an innocence, the heart is open, and that's the kind of level that the fairies are on too. They're very kind of simplistic, if you like, and magical beings. And we have that within us too, if only we remembered. And connecting to that inner child is a beautiful kind of bonus of working with the fairies, if you like. So I love it. I love it so much. And I never expect from them, but they come to me in different ways, through feelings, through telepathic communication, and visions as well. So I feel very, very blessed.
This idea as well of leaving things in nature for them, because again, they are guardians of nature, so they're so woven into the natural world as custodians of the natural world, and we haven't really shown up to our kind of roles as often in our Western society as being custodians and guardians of nature, but they really are. That's they are of service, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's such a wonderful thing, isn't it, Karen, to even this idea of sort of leaving gifts for the fairies, and noticing them or acknowledging them, bringing them into your everyday world, and what they bring us. And I love the this idea of play, and I feel like it's a really important part of our healing. They bring us back into relationship with the child within, and that sort of, and the play, because they do get up to no good, the fairies sometimes. We love them, but they can be, but they are like, what I love about a fairy is that they will dance on a table. They're a little bit like, they love a bit, and they have, there's all sorts of different energy, like you say, it's different personalities, but there are some that are up to no good, and and that's, we say that in the most wonderfully reverential way, because we love them.
Yeah.
And that's what we love about them too, because it kind of brings back sometimes, like a mischievous part of, you start working with them, and if you're pulling a card on that day, and it's just a reminder to kick up your heels, and
Yeah.
play, and bring that joy back in.
Yeah, definitely. And they are very playful beings, and we could say they're a little bit naughty. I don't think they're kind of bad per se, because I feel like
No.
sometimes when you hear about those experiences from people that say, "Oh no, don't go near the fairies," usually it's because they have either done it themselves, gone into an area of land and not really respected it, and that's where they might kind of, you might get a bramble caught in your trousers, or something, it could happen, because they're protective over their land. And it's about us, we're sharing the land, aren't we? We're sharing the planet with them, and it's about us having that same respect. So when we are wanting to reach out to the fairies and connect with them in whatever way we can, whether it's through the Manifesting with the Fairies Oracle or another deck, or just being out in nature, is the best way, and because that's where they reside. So I have a very simple technique that I share in my workshops, or for people that just say, how can I connect with fairies, because that's the most common question that I get asked. And it's a very simple way to do it is go out into nature if you're able to. If you're not able to, then you can find a picture of nature, or go on the internet and find nature, so you can tune in, because not everybody is able to get out into nature. But if you are, that's the first thing. And then find a tree that you feel drawn to. I can see that beautiful tree behind you, Estelle, which
Exactly,
is
love that.
really, oh, it's
I've got
beautiful.
a tree coming out of my head. I'm so zen.
Well, you're very grounded, aren't you? Because it's going whoosh, like right down.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like finding a tree, whether it's a mature, wise old tree, or whatever type of tree, and then you would ideally sit with your back against the tree, and say something super simple like, "Fairies, fairies, come to me as I sit beneath this tree. So may it be." And then you would just sit and meditate and be open and receptive for any little signs, because very often the fairies can come in as, because they're shapeshifters as well, they're magical beings, so they can come in as an insect or an animal, or
Yeah.
anything kind of unusual. And you might say, well, that is an insect or that is an animal, but there will be some kind of unusual thing about it when it comes in. It might be doing something that is out of character. And it's just about being receptive to that, and also the whisperings of the fae. So you might get inspired, you might have, usually for me it's about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, they'll wake me up because I'm more receptive, my mind is more back, and my heart is more open, and so they'll come in very often then. So it is a matter of, you might not get something immediately, but if you just persist in this openness, and they will come forward, they will notice you, they will scan you. And by
Mm.
scan, I mean kind of read your aura. Is this person passionate about nature? Does this person love nature as much as we do? That's the kind of things that they'll be energetically doing or screening us for. And then if the answer is yes, they'll be able to kind of resonate and vibrate on a similar level and come more forward into your life. And when they do, if they do, then just prepare for lots of magic and fun and metaphorical fairy dust.
Yeah, no, we love that. So we recently went to New York, didn't we, Karen? And
Yay!
we did. We were poodling around in New York, having a wonderful time, visiting various vegan restaurants, and just generally, having a great time in Brooklyn. And one of the things that you did was you were bringing in the fairies, and you were kind of doing the cards, and you were pulling a card every day, and so that's really, again, that's I think quite important for people to think about, that wherever you are, and remember that nature is, Mother Earth is underneath us wherever we are. So
Yeah,
if you don't have you can't get to a tree, you can be in a really, like a proper urban landscape like New
yeah,
York, like
yeah,
New York, that doesn't sleep.
yeah,
um, and you can find the earth. That's, I think, a really important message too. And again, working with a tool like manifesting with the fairies is a really good way of tuning into the energy that you may not be able to see, the tree that you may not be able to get to, but just actually kind of doing it wherever you are, and being in that wherever you are is I think, you made that happen in New York. So if you can do it in New York, you can do it anywhere. You
oh,
know what they say.
definitely. Yeah, that sounds like a song to me.
It does. It does. Maybe one that we may know as well.
Yeah,
So, a little bit about your fairy balls, because you did used to work for the BBC. Before you kind of entered into this world of fae, like you say, it was obviously percolating from when you were young, but
yeah.
you then started these wonderful fairy balls, and I can't wait to come to one of them. They happen in Glastonbury, don't they?
Yeah.
And what happens there? What happens at these fairy balls? I know there's great music, lots of dancing, different stalls. Tell
Yeah,
us a little bit about
it's basically it's a celebration of the fae, of fairies, and everyone dresses up. There are no rules, there's no kind of dress code, but every year I've been doing them. Oh gosh, the very first one was in 2006, so they've been going a long time. And it's an opportunity for you to celebrate fairies in your own unique way. So people will spend sometimes a year or 6 months creating an outfit, and we don't really call it costumes because it's not a cosplay, it's a outer expression of your inner fairy, if that makes
that.
sense. And
Great.
people are
Love that.
super creative, and we don't have like fancy dress competitions or anything like that, because
Yeah.
just showing up and making that effort immediately makes everyone a winner. So there's no kind of,
Love it.
yeah, it's all very, very inclusive, very welcoming, and we get new people coming all the time, and they're like, I found my family. That's what it feels like. Because especially with fairies, it's becoming more acceptable nowadays, but there was a time when I first came out of the fairy closet that it wasn't. It was like almost laughable, like, you believe in fairies, you're a grown woman. And it's like, yeah, I do. And it's not even a belief, it's a knowing. And there are many, many people, I get calls and messages all the time from people that aren't always so able to share this in a public way. So many of them will come to the events because it's a place to be with other like-minded and like-hearted people who share that same passion and love for nature and the fairies. So it really is a celebration. And from the community that has formed around the events, people have formed businesses that are really doing very well, like creating fairy sculptures or herbs and lots of things. I can't even say how many. It's just infinite, the amount of creative people and creativity within the fairy community. It really is special. And I always make the fairs, there's a fair in the daytime and then the balls in the evening. So the fairs are always free for people to come in. If you're fae curious or fairy curious and you're like, what's going on here? Everyone that comes in is like, wow, because the energy is so fizzy and happy
Joyful.
and light, and we need this more than ever at this stage in life, really, because of everything that's going on in the world, and we need to really be focusing on the light, on the love, on the upliftment, and raising the vibration as much as we can. It's not to deny that there are things going on in the world that we can't really do anything about, but we can do something about ourselves and raise our own vibrations, because that will spread out into the world.
Karen, so one of the other things I want to talk to you about actually before we go was this wonderful magazine that you have. You've got this wonderful magazine, the Fae magazine, that's international, and it really is what is an amazing kind of connects fairy fans worldwide. So how often does that come out?
Well, it was coming out every quarter up until lockdown, and then everything changed, and I won't go into all the kind of details of that, but it's just about to come out again. I'm literally ready to print that. And this magazine was born from the community, because I felt like, as you know, I'm a former journalist, so I had these skills, and I thought, well, what is my passion? It's fairies, and I wanted to create a publication that would serve the community that was building around the events and the Three Wishes Fairy Festival, and somewhere that they can kind of congregate in a physical way, with a physical magazine. And it would have like folklore, fairy news, about a fairy lifestyle, because it is a thing, and it is really popular, and the people in different countries love the fact that it was produced within the UK as well. So that's something that I is very, very close to my heart, and it showcases just the whole fairy lifestyle. And in fact, the new issue that's coming out is authors and artisans, so it's all books, oracle cards, and artisans within the fairy community.
So what about one of these cards, Karen? I'm very excited for you to pick me one of your
Okay.
cards, or three, or just let's get these manifesting with the fairies happening like in this moment. Let's kind of
Okay.
work with it, work
I
with the
love it.
energy.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, before I talk, usually I will pull a card to see what the energy is like. I'll pull a one for you in a moment, but the one
Yes.
I pulled out for everyone is love and light. I hope you can see it there.
Beautiful. Look at
And
that.
yeah, she's so vibrant and just
Isn't she?
radiating this beautiful love and light energy that is within us all. And it's a reminder, because the fairies are a reflection of us as well. And this fairy is saying, you are love, you are light, shine your light, shine it bright into the world. Don't hide your light under a bushel, just shine. And it kind of clears the way of any blockages, and it's just beautiful. I mean, the energy. The art is by Jane Delaford Taylor. I must give her a shout out, because her artwork is incredible. And to create art from my descriptions is quite a challenge, because they're very detailed, some of the things that go into the cards. So, yeah, Love and Light is the card for the collective, if you like. But I'm going to pull one just for you, Estelle.
Absolutely beautiful. Love that, Karen.
Oh, yeah, I love
We
that.
the collective absorbs that. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm sure everyone who's watching this will absolutely love that card from the
yeah.
fairies.
Love and Light. So lovely. Right, okay. There are many ways to pull cards. The way I tend to do it is I just shuffle, yeah, and then they stick to my hands. So, oh, we've got enlightenment for you, Estelle.
Oh wow, look at
And
her.
she's sitting by a tree and she's meditating.
She is sitting by the tree and meditating.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, yeah.
And she's in green. She's also wearing a green Fae outfit.
Yeah, and she's got her beautiful wings, and she's got this beautiful cherry blossom as well coming down.
How beautiful is that? That's so powerful. And maybe
Yeah,
we can also share that with the collective too. You
yeah,
know,
of
like
course.
what that, anyone who's watching this today or tonight or wherever you are, that we've got this lovely love and light to just remember your love and light, and also this sort of path to enlightenment.
Yeah, yeah. And enlightenment is an interesting one because it's almost, I mean, apart from the few, it's something that we can glimpse upon, we can touch upon, we can have moments of enlightenment. And I feel like part of our earthly mission, or whatever the word is to attain this or to remember this. It's not something that is an elusive thing. It already resides within us. It's just kind of getting rid of the clutter of the mind, the things that come in to knock us off of our paths, which is life. It's totally normal. It's not wrong. It just is what it is. But we do have this ability, and this fairy comes in, this fairy queen comes in to remind us that enlightenment and glimpses of enlightenment is possible, are possible. So it's like, it doesn't have to be a big struggle. It doesn't have to be a course that you do for 10 years. It can happen in a moment, and it can go in a moment. And sometimes it can happen when we're meditating, more often than not, but also in normal everyday life. Sometimes something can just happen, and you go into this space and you just feel connected with everything, and it's reminding us that we are a part of everything, and the fairies are a part of everything too, so they're the perfect guides to share this message with us.
Absolutely beautiful, Karen. And where can we find you? Where what are your channels? How can we find you, online? Where are you?
So I'm always on Instagram. That's my kind of first go-to, and that is Karen K Fairy. I've got a little blue tick, so you'll know that it's me. And also through my website, it's kind of like a really good resource for everything, all the things I'm doing and all the different platforms that I'm on. And that is just simply my name, karenk.co.uk. And there's a newsletter, there's a blog, so you can just kind of subscribe to that and then just find out all the things that are going on.
Thank you so much. It's been so wonderful to talk with you and find out more about this amazing oracle deck that you have created, manifesting with the fairies, and
Yay.
talking to you for the You Can
Yay.
Heal Your Life Hay House podcast. Wonderful. Yep, there it is. Looking at that. I love the imagery is absolutely beautiful. The colours are really healing and
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
So thank you for that. And anyone listening, anyone watching, wonderful to be with you too.